The Challenger Deep was not built for beauty, but for purpose. A floating engine of recovery.
Her crew moved like parts of a single machine. Years at sea had honed their routines to instinct. Cradled on deck was their key to the abyss, the abyssal eye, a sphere of titanium built to survive the crush.
The transition was always dramatic. The realm of air surrendering the machine to the waiting sea.
Inside the sphere, the world condensed to instrument glow and the smell of recycled air. The descent began. Then, the true dark.
The pressure mounted with every meter. An immense, silent force testing every weld, every seal.
And then, the first sign. Not geology. Something angular. Something made. The delicate work began. Centuries of pressure had turned wood to sponge, metal to brittle ceramic. Each movement was calculated, transmitted through joysticks, fighting the resistance of the deep. From the world above, their lifeline descended. A cable strong enough to haul history back to the surface.
And just like that, after centuries of stillness, it was moving, returning.
The work continued for hours. One chest, then another. A mechanical harvest from the garden of the deep.
Inside the sphere, fatigue was a creeping constant. The air grew stale, the cold seeped in.
Breaking surface felt like rebirth. The shock of light, the taste of real air.
But the true sight awaited on deck. The recovered chests were monstrous, transformed by their long exile.
As a new dawn paled the sky, the first chest was ready. Its lock, though corroded, still held its secret. The lid rose with a protest of ancient hinges, and the ocean released what it had held since the age of sail.
For a long moment, there was only silence. The weight of centuries finally lifted. This was more than treasure. It was time made tangible. Ambition and tragedy, frozen in metal. Each chest held a story, not just of wealth, but of lives interrupted, of a world that no longer existed.
They had reached into the deepest dark and returned with light.
The team leader felt the quiet satisfaction of mission success, but also the responsibility now resting on his ship.
The ocean reminded them it was still in charge. A brewing storm tested their secure stowage.
Every chest, every cannon was double-checked. They could not lose it now to a surface storm.
The storm passed. Their precious cargo had weathered it, just as it had weathered centuries below.
The world began to take notice. Experts arrived to witness and document the magnitude of the find.
This was not a treasure hunt. It was archaeology at the extreme frontier. Every detail held data.
The mission wasn't over. Sonar showed more signals on the plain. The abyss still held secrets. Targets are fragile, likely hull fragments. Documentation is priority. Recovery if possible.
Each descent was the same, and each was utterly new. The abyss never showed the same face twice.
They returned to the graveyard. Their previous work had left marks upon the timeless silt. Then they found her bones, the very skeleton of the Atocha, preserved in the cold, dark tomb.
This time, they were historians, not salvors. Their task was to record, to learn, not just to reclaim.
The personal debris field told another story. The objects of daily life on a long, perilous voyage.
Some items were small enough to bring back. A navigator's tool, last touched by a hand hoping for safe passage.
And then, the most solemn finds. Reminders that this was not just a shipwreck, but a maritime grave.
Some things, they decided, would remain with the ship. The ocean had claimed them. It would keep them. Once more, the limits of technology called them back. Their time in the deep was finite.
They left the Atocha in her darkness, but they carried her story back to the light.
Each return brought new fragments of the past. Each one a puzzle piece in a story that 3 centuries old.
We've mapped 80% of the significant debris. The archaeological record is now complete.
The mission objective was achieved. The call was made. It was time to go home.
The return journey was a time of decompression, not from pressure, but from intensity.
The treasure took on new meaning, not as loot, but as a bridge across time.
Land! I see land!
After weeks at sea, the sight of land was a profound relief. They were bringing the past back to the present.
The Challenger Deep moved from the timeless ocean to the heart of the modern world. For the crew, the mission was finally over. The embrace of loved ones was the only treasure they needed. The real voyage for the treasure was just beginning. A journey of decades in the hands of scientists.
From the abyssal plain to the museum floor, the transformation was as dramatic as the recovery itself.
The contrast told the true story, not of finding treasure, but of rescuing history from oblivion.
We didn't just recover objects, we recovered a precise moment in time, a failed intersection of human ambition and natural force.
This was the final purpose, to pass the story on, to make the past tangible for generations who would never know the sea.
For him, the cycle was complete. The weight of centuries had been lifted, shared, and laid down for others to carry forward.
The sea never released its hold on him. New anomalies on a chart called, a different mystery in another deep.
The memories of the Atocha were always there.
a high water mark against which all other missions were measured.
Meanwhile, in the quiet halls of the museum, the treasure told its silent story to thousands.
Visitors saw gold and gems, but the sensitive ones saw the ambition, the fear, the hope that sank with the ship.
The find became a teaching tool, a concrete link to colonial history, maritime trade, and archaeological ethics.
The documentary contrasted the brutal effort of recovery with the peaceful, scholarly aftermath. The recovery yielded new questions. Our archaeologist pursued them to the source, cross-referencing finds with ancient paperwork.
A connection sparked across time. A ledger entry from 1682 matched to an object pulled from the mud in 2024.
This isn't just silver, it's a data point. It tells us about mint output, trade routes, economic pressure.
They were bound by an experience few could understand. The shared intimacy of extreme pressure and profound discovery.
Some bore permanent marks, not of wealth, but of the place they had been and the thing they had done together.
The legacy was also one of mentorship, passing on the delicate skills needed to care for the reclaimed past. The coordinates were logged, protected. The site was now a registered archaeological landmark, forbidden to treasure hunters. Its sanctity was enforced. The Atocha's final resting place for the artifacts left behind would remain undisturbed.
The catalog thanked the crew by name. It was a quiet, formal recognition of their anonymous, essential labor.
342 years ago, a storm like this one sealed the fate of the galleon and all aboard. The violence of its end was now framed by quiet glass and scholarly text. History had tamed the tragedy.
The recovery had human ripples, connecting living people to a name on a manifest, to a soul lost in the deep.
For them, it was not archaeology. It was a chapter of their own story, finally given a physical place to mourn.
The treasure settled into its new life. No longer in crushing dark, the story found new mediums. The public could now visit the wreck site without ever getting wet.
It was a sanitized experience, of course. No pressure, no cold, no risk. But it sparked the same awe.
The techniques they pioneered for treasure became tools for pure science.
The deep was yielding biological secrets, not just historical ones.
The Abyssal Eye had successors, each one built on the lessons learned in the crushing dark of the Challenger Deep.
The mission changed them. For some, the focus shifted from what could be taken from the deep to what must be protected.
These are museum floors too, but for living history. Once destroyed, they are gone forever.
And as the museum closed each night, the treasure waited in the quiet dark. A different dark, safe and known.
These are museum floors too, she argued, but for living history. Once destroyed, they are gone forever.
And as the museum closed each night, the treasure waited in the quiet dark. A different dark, safe and known.
Its long journey, from a mint in the Americas to a hold in a wooden ship, to a silent plain.
New faces, new energy. The ship passed to a new generation, tasked with new mysteries in the deep.
Her mission was different, to map tectonic fissures. But the vessel's history was a ghost in every corridor.
He offered his knowledge freely, ensuring the ship and her crew were ready for the challenges ahead.
Letting go was part of the cycle. The ship was alive only when at sea,
pursuing the next question. The discoveries never truly ended. Advanced technology revealed secrets within secrets, missed by the first examination. The definitive work took years. It would be the benchmark for deep-sea archaeology for decades to come.
Nature's power was a constant echo. New storms rose, indifferent to the histories playing out beneath them.
The ocean kept its secrets. For every Atocha found, 100 wrecks remained hidden, their stories untold.
He passed on not just technique, but judgment. When to be bold, when to be patient, when to leave things be.
The story traveled. The treasure became an ambassador, connecting continents through the shared history of ocean commerce.
See, he said, this plate made in China sailed to Mexico on a Spanish ship. The world was global even then.
The site continued to give, even without lifting artifacts. Its sediments were a time capsule of ocean chemistry.
He spoke of engineering, of teamwork, of respect for the ocean. The treasure was just the hook.
That drawing, to him, was worth more than any coin. It meant the story had been passed on.
The ocean endured. It had witnessed the rise and fall of empires, the sinking of ships, the stubborn hope of recovery.
The wreck was now pure information, a digital ghost, preserved forever in ones and zeros.
After a lifetime in the darkest deep, he found peace in the sunlit shallows. The circle closed. The last object was put to rest, its journey from the abyss complete.
They became fixed points. While the world changed outside, they told the same silent story of ambition and loss.
The weight of centuries was no longer his to carry. He had set it down.
And the ship sailed on, toward the next deep, the next mystery, the next chapter in humanity. The recovery of the Atocha stood on the shoulders of giants. A century of engineering, courage, and failure paved the way.
She paid her respects, knowing her triumph was only possible because of those who dared before the technology was ready.
The artifacts created new academic dialogues, linking maritime history with terrestrial archaeology in unexpected ways.
The sea offered its own treasures, freely. Moments of beauty that required no submersible.
The circle of understanding closed. Modern craftsmen connecting with the skilled hands of their forgotten predecessors.
He showed them the tools of the trade, not just machines, but the ship itself, a character in the story.
She felt the scale, the physicality of the ambition required to challenge the deepest ocean.
She needed to see them without the crowd, to remember the moment of first sight in the crushing.
The treasure sparked art. It became metaphor for loss, for recovery, for the immutable weight of history.
The story kept transforming. From history to science to economics and now to...
That was the real treasure. Not in the frame, but the moment it captured. A team united by a single, impossible task.
The legacy faced new threats. The lessons of preservation learned from the Atocha were now weapons in a larger fight.
They came out of retirement for this, to defend the deep from becoming a quarry, to protect its stories and its ecosystems.
Get it done.
He returned to the deep, not as a conqueror, but as a part of the story he helped reclaim.
He loved the mystery of it, his daughter said. Now he's part of it.
And the deep continued its ancient processes, unhurried, patient, incorporating all stories into its silent geology. The salvers became part of the exhibit. Their courage and skill were now chapters in the historical narrative.
I want to do that.
The seed was planted. The next generation looked not at the gold, but at the machine that found it and saw their future.
The story began with ink on paper, a captain's log, noting weather, course, and the growing unease in his gut.
The storm was a living beast. It tested the seams of the ship and the souls of the men aboard.
The sea claimed its prize not with a shout, but with a cold, relentless ingress.
And then, the long fall. A tumble down the continental shelf into a darkness no sailor could have imagined. Centuries later, the mud itself held clues. Layers of sediment, a timeline of the ocean's memory.
The past became interactive, a puzzle for the public to solve, understanding the physics of the disaster.
She learned a hard lesson. Some events are fixed.
She felt a duty to the past, to connect the artifact not just to a history, but to a lineage.
We are all salvors, dredging our past for the treasures and traumas that shape our present.
A marker for the deep. A sign that humans had been here, learned, and chosen to protect.
It found its most fitting home. Among the laughter and curiosity of children, a toy could be a toy again.
This was found very, very deep in the ocean. A child, long ago, might have held it just like you.
It was never about the gold. It was about the light and bringing things that were lost in the dark back into it.